Welcome back to Come Again TV, the only place on YouTube where all geek culture collides. I'm Shannon, and it's been a long time coming. I think it's been something like 7 or 8 years since we covered Highlander in the history and origins. Well, today, finally, without further ado, celebrating our 10-year anniversary of Come Again TV, here it is, the history and origins of Methos. Stay tuned. Welcome to Come Again. Methos is recognized as the world's oldest immortal in the Highlander universe, being well over 6,000 years old, having been born prior to 4000 BC, and has gone by several aliases over the years, including Adam Pearson, Dr. Benjamin Adams, Ramus, Alexander, Keratix, Haribu, Et Maru, Metopholos, Nathan, Jet, and the Horsemen of Death. He's also the only immortal to have ever become a Watcher, unbeknownst to the Watchers themselves. Methos himself doesn't even know for sure how old he is, but he's been trained by several teachers over the centuries, such as Ger, Menahem, Sun Tzu, and Diligen. Methos has a very dry and sarcastic wit about him, and prefers self-preservation over heroics, but is a strong friend and ally, especially to Duncan MacLeod, whom he risked his own life for in the film Highlander the Source, which is up for debate on whether it's considered canon or not. On an earlier occasion, Methos offered his head to Duncan in hopes of Duncan stopping an evil immortal, fearing the other immortal may take his head, then having the power to take Duncan's. Typically, Methos will refuse to battle other immortals, choosing instead survival and to obtain knowledge the old-fashioned way, by learning it rather than obtaining it through quickening. Methos has very expensive taste, stating that he'd never stay in any hotel that Adam Pearson, his Watcher cover, could afford. His primary skill is in survival and hiding in plain sight, which has led the Watchers to believe that Methos never actually existed, rather was simply a legend. Though Methos has expensive taste, his skill in hiding makes his own legend of little interest to him, to the extent that he'll even allow other immortals to use his identity. Being that he's viewed as the oldest living immortal, Methos speaks several languages and has been married over 68 times, to mortal women, of course, because marrying an immortal would be far too much commitment for him. Methos prefers to use one-handed swords, given that he's lived through ages where carrying a shield was common. Prior to joining the Watchers, he studied at St. Aidan's College at Durham University under the name Adam Pearson, and was recruited into the Watchers as a researcher before eventually being put in charge of finding the immortal Methos. Unbeknownst to the other Watchers was Adam himself, and was even granted the chair of the Methos Scholarship when he was found by Duncan MacLeod. Methos hadn't taken a head in over 200 years, choosing instead to remove himself from the game and focus on learning. Methos' memories prior to his first death are a blur, to the extent that he's unsure of his original homeland, people, or even language. Following his first death, he was taken in by the Bedouin tribe, who taught him their ways of survival in the desert. Eventually, when it became evident he wasn't aging, the Bedouin tribe began to believe him to be a demon or even a god, and forced him to fight one of their best warriors to the death, which he lost. On his revival, his hands were tied and he was banished, forced to walk into the desert without food, water, or weapons, where he eventually managed to cut his bindings using a pile of bones he stumbled upon. Eventually, Methos was caught stealing and discovered the pharaoh Ger was also an immortal, the oldest living immortal at that time, who took him under his wing. Prior to this, Ger had ordered the death of Methos' wife, along with other nomads across Egypt. Methos then shot Ger with a poisoned dart while he slept, and put him in a burial wrappings, and sealed him in a sarcophagus, then took over as the pharaoh Jet. ruling for over 10 years. Methos met Kronos during the Bronze Age while traveling with other immortals who took Kronos in. Kronos eventually slaughtered the other immortals, but Methos convinced Kronos to spare him, offering instead to join him, and they later formed the Four Horsemen. Under Kronos' orders, they found, raped, and slaughtered a tribe of mortals. Eventually, the suicide of another immortal on a boat causes quickening to ignite the oil lamps, separating the horsemen. Methos learned of the existence of the Watchers in 904 BC, while in Jerusalem, when he overheard a group of men discussing the existence of immortals whose names he recognized. At this time, Methos went by the name Alexander and was invited to attend their meetings, where he fell in love and married a woman named Ruth. Around this time, after joining the Watchers, he learned that his low profile had kept his name out of the Watchers' records, and he was able to learn more about the game. While in Rome in 35 AD, he served as a slave and advisor to a Roman senator, but the senator's wife attempted to seduce him. When Methos refused her advances, she cried rape, and Methos was crucified, but was then saved by a man named Marcus Constantine. After this, Methos crossed the Atlantic where his hatred for water originated. In the 16th century, Methos became friends with his Watcher, which later cost his Watcher his life. Methos met Duncan MacLeod around 1995. Short time later, Methos was eventually found by Kronos, who stabbed him while taking a backpack to his car. When Methos recovered, Kronos forced Methos to join him again or lose his head, and Methos agreed in order to save himself. Kronos demanded a test of loyalty by killing Duncan MacLeod. Following this, MacLeod and Kronos dueled, but Methos broke it up by setting their battleground on fire. When Kronos threatened to kill Methos for this, he revealed he knew where the other two horsemen were and promised to reunite them. Kronos and Methos then traveled to Europe, where they were reunited with Silas in the Ukraine and Caspian in Romania. Once together, the Four Horsemen went to an abandoned submarine base, where Kronos revealed he had developed a biological weapon in order to subjugate the world. Methos then arranged a meeting with Duncan MacLeod, where he revealed Kronos' plan to him. During a battle between Caspian and Silas, Duncan had killed Caspian and avoided Silas. After this, Methos killed Silas while Duncan killed Kronos, with the two experiencing a double quickening, which linked the two together. It should be noted that Methos was a powerful force in bringing Duncan back to the light side after experiencing a dark quickening, as well as when he fell into a deep depression and despair after he killed Richie. Hope you enjoyed this. Stay with us this year as we celebrate our 10th anniversary on YouTube. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to check out one of these two playlists for more videos just like the one you just watched. I've been Shannon. This has been Come Again TV, the only place on YouTube where all geek culture collides. Take care, geeks.